The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters of Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. We have a very special guest for you today out of Charleston, South Carolina with Coastal Vacation Properties, Joshua Hatter. Josh, how are you?
Living the dream. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no worries. You have a nice holiday?
Absolutely. Yeah, nice, quiet, at home with the wife. I just got married late October. So
congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm 41, so it's long overdue. According to my mother.
All right. I'm 52 and I just married off a son.
So,
so we're
opposite ends of the spectrum.
And I'm glad to do it. All four of my sons are grown-up adults. I wish they'd all get married.
I love it.
But to each his own. Everybody has a different timeline.
Yep.
So interestingly enough, I've got to ask. We always like to start at the beginning. I mean, were you like the 6-year-old tugging on your mom's him or your dad's him saying, hey, I want to get into vacation property rental one day, or
no,
kind of fall into it?
Yeah, like many people with some of the things that they do, I think I really fell into it. So yeah, much more necessity is the mother of invention type of story. 2012, so 10 years ago, actually was part of a corporate-wide layoff for a large Fortune 500 public company. And 700 people got laid off. So, me and 700 of my closest friends, and rented out the condo that I was living in, crashing on friends' couches just to kind of see if it would work. And that was all on VRBO, Verbo now, VRBO at the time. And, really even long before the proliferation of Airbnb. So that was kind of my first taste of short-term rentals. And really, I did it for a few months. It was against the HOA, so I got shut down almost immediately. Went back into my job doing sales for a defense contractor and just kind of left it alone for a bit. Didn't get back into it until 2016. Was living in a little 3-bedroom house and started renting a bedroom out, and things have just kind of really grown and blossomed from there.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like it for sure. So your main 3 areas, if I'm not mistaken, are Charleston, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we're in and around the beaches on Charleston, as well as some of the suburbs. So it's about 8 different cities, but those are the main areas that we're in now. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me the difference. I've been to all 3 of those places, fortunately, so I can envision it in my mind. Tell me a little bit about the draw to the 3 areas and how they differ, kind of are different from each other.
Yeah, so I mean, they're very different. Anybody that's been to Myrtle Beach looks at Pigeon Forge and the Smokies kind of as like the Myrtle Beach of the mountains. Similar demographics that go to both areas. Charleston is a huge wedding destination. It's actually number 2 behind Las Vegas in the country. Yeah, so still a huge backup from COVID, of course, as well. But yeah, so huge wedding destination, huge hospitality and tourism is the number 1 industry here. Multiple tens of billions of dollars in hospitality and tourism here. Huge bachelor and bachelorette city. And of course, we've been getting a bunch of good ratings in some of the major publications, travel publications over the last decade. So not a very well-kept secret anymore. But just a huge influx of travelers and really people moving here as well too. Whereas kind of the Smokies are much more of a vacation destination.
Right, for sure. A lot of good golf there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And so much more loosely regulated. So kind of opposite ends of the STR spectrum, really. Obviously, colder this time of year than Charleston. Much more loosely regulated than Charleston is. Charleston only has a few hundred legal short-term rentals downtown. There's a specific short-term rental overlay where I think the last count for the Smokies I saw was like 6,000, something like that. So, tons and tons of supply due to low regulation in the Smokies.
Gotcha. Can you talk about regulations a little bit? I mean, that's the big buzzword when it comes to, always, and I don't mean to bring up kind of a a negative to anything, right? But I always hear like, oh, this city is going to start regulating where you can't rent. I mean, I live in obviously the kind of the vacation destination, what I consider of the United States, in a way, all of Florida, right? People just come into Florida all the time. And every city's got these nitpicky rules about that, right? Is there more of a blanket ruling for the state, or is it every city has their hand in the cookie jar on that?
Yeah, no, really. So I think since local municipalities have realized the tax revenue that they can collect, local municipalities have their own regulations just across the world, really. And that's what makes short-term rentals so difficult. So frankly, I'm an investor as well. CVP is my management company, but as an investor, I have slowly been exiting short-term rentals over the course of 2022 and moving into actual bed and breakfasts.
Okay.
Actually having breakfast served
Yeah.
in these old historic B&Bs that you would see in a city that was founded in the 1600s, like Charleston,
Right.
and kind of moving towards boutique hotels. And so, for a couple of reasons, I mentioned the proliferation of STRs and the Smokies. And there's just, it's not, when I started 10 years ago, my old college buddies would laugh at me, what are you doing? You're, sharing a room with somebody and drinking your coffee in the morning. And so now it's everywhere you turn, there's a podcast or a book or, something on house hacking and people trying to do a side hustle on Airbnb.
Right.
It's very different, right? So, really shifting towards B&Bs and boutique hotels puts you kind of on the right side of the hotel lobby, if you will. I've looked at half a dozen other markets to expand CVP into as a short-term rental management company, and every market has its own rules, right? And then as a manager, every state has its own rules as well. So,
Right.
to your point, it's just you really have to have your arms around that. Obviously, you don't want to get fined for something stupid. So it just makes it a lot more difficult as a manager to operate in the STR market.
I'm going to be a little flip when I say this, a couple of things, but it's to add a little levity to it. Who's narking you out? I mean, it's like, is it the neighbors? How does the municipality, how does the city go, oh, Josh, man, you can't have a one room let, on this side of the street. Is it neighbors? How do they find out? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, no, it's that's a great question. No, it's I always say illegal doesn't scale. So, if an owner suggests something, we know the rules for where we operate. So,
Right.
To be clear. However, to your point, there are a lot of people that will just throw up a listing. So in this area, downtown Charleston, for instance, where there's a few hundred of them, it's only 25% owner occupied, but that 25% of people, the locals will come out with their torches and pitchforks.
Wow.
When somebody tries to get a property rezoned for a short-term rental, or if somebody makes a mistake. So it's code enforcement, and it's
It's such a historic area too, though.
Exactly.
I get that, right?
Sure.
We all want to play within the rules. It just strikes me funny, that's all I'm saying.
It's always
like,
interesting to watch.
I got him right here. Yeah. On down to 112 Elm Street,
He left his trash can out again. It's
right.
always,
they park two cars in the front. Yeah. Like a bad HOA.
It's a
HOA
small
nightmare or something,
It's a small team, right? So it's like small enforcement team. So, it's half a dozen people. So it's, if you're operating in smaller markets, you get to know these people, right? So it is what it is. It kind of comes with the territory. They're, at least their home prices have appreciated as a result of these investments nearby. But
you keep them up also. That's the thing. If you're running an operation, or your home as an operation of business that people are judging by the, what would you call it? The look and feel, and how they feel when they walk out the door. That's a boon to the neighbors,
Very much so.
I get it.
It's interesting. Yeah. So what makes the news is, the bachelorette party, the crazy parties that destroy a house. It's mostly families are the demographic, right? And they want that kitchen to be able to cook for their family and not have to eat out every single meal.
Right.
And to your point, the rating system is what keeps investors in check, right? Because you're rating each other constantly. And so you don't have the ability to only extract value from these properties as an investor. Student rentals are huge in this area as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it always amazes me. Obviously, there's a lot more issues with that in general, just in terms of of the rowdiness, college students, and those investors are typically just extracting value, whereas in short-term rentals, you are constantly investing. You've got to keep, especially as things get more popular, and there's more inventory.
Right.
You've got to have something special. You can't just throw up a house in suburban America and hope it's going to absolutely crush it for you as an investor.
Yeah, that's very valid. You had mentioned, I wanted to go back to this. You had mentioned, in 2022, early 2022, you kind of moved away from the short-term rental more into the what you and I and maybe older people consider a real bed and breakfast, right? We actually serve breakfast, and it's an inn. I still call them inns. I'm going to ask. I always ask this question, but I'm going to ask it kind of on it's spliced. So, what's the future of what you're doing? I mean, I guess that's where I'm going with it. If you're moving this direction, and that's you personally, what about the industry overall? What can we expect to see like over the next 1, 3, and 5 years, do you think?
Yes, it's still a very interesting industry because it's still so young, right? I mean, you had these mountain and beach vacation rental markets that even long before VRBO or VRBO, that were still going through local management companies renting out these beach and mountain houses. But just with the proliferation of Airbnb, there's so much technology innovation now. We're always trying a new niche technology platform just to try to differentiate ourselves and build the brand a little bit. So I think you're going to continue to see that. There's so many different solutions for some of the problems that owner operators and managers face in the short-term rental world. But for me as an investor, I don't look at it as STRs or B&Bs. To me, it's all information arbitrage, right? And so now that I know, and having the benefit of hindsight in 10 years and looking back at 10 years ago and being laughed at, right? No one's laughing anymore. And so, to me, that's just totally shifted. And now that I know what that looks and feels like, I'd like to go back to that a little bit more. I think people are scared away from actual B&Bs just because of the additional human elements that come from that, right? I mean, you can't just set up breakfast and forget it. You've got a little bit more human capital involved with that, which generally you're going to pay somebody for, right? So I think in terms of the potential value add, though, it's huge, right? So CVP is my management company. My partner, one of my partners on the investing side, Cameron O'Connor, has his own home builder company. And so he specializes in these historic home renovations. So things that would scare me a few years ago prior to meeting him in terms of updating 100-year-old historic home and some of the problems that come with that, those things don't scare me anymore. And so when we look at these actual B&Bs, for instance, the one we just closed on, the second one that we closed on about 10 days ago, amazing owner operators. They were there every single day for 8 years cooking breakfast themselves, 68 years old, right? So in terms of maybe technology integration on the management side, I've got some room there with CVP. And then certainly on the renovation side, we'll put several $100,000 into it and kind of modernize that little 9-room B&B that we bought. So we're doing the same thing with the first one that we bought last April as well. So really kind of bringing these older homes into more modern, chic, upscale B&Bs while still maintaining some of those post-COVID era regulations that people want in terms of like non-contact and things like that. Right.
How are folks finding you? I mean, I know you have the website and things like that. What does marketing look like when in your position that's, so people understand there is a difference between Airbnb and VRBO, and that, and maybe you want to tap into that real quick in this explanation, but how do they find you?
Sure. Yeah. So Airbnb, VRBO, or VRBO, Booking.com, those are all called OTAs or online travel agencies. And so they're just getting you the eyeballs. And so the upside of them is they're aggregating eyeballs so that people can look at these listings and book. So then it's a matter of differentiating your listing between other listings on that platform. Really the shift though in short-term rentals as well is trying to increase direct bookings. So there's a lot of ways that we're starting to do that. Last year we did 1.3 million through our management company in bookings, only 2% direct. This year we did 3.1 million, about 12, 13% direct. The goal is to get that into the 30s in 2023. And some of that is that you have a different demographic that's looking for a B&B or boutique hotel as opposed to short-term rentals. Short-term rentals, there's not really a lot of brand loyalty. You're kind of looking on price and location, and property amenities. Yeah. So, you have a specific thing that you're looking for, and that's what you go with. And so you're looking on whatever platform you're most comfortable with. Where in these older historic properties, people want that experience. They want to go to that historic city, stay in a historic home that's in a historic part of town, and they want that. They want that more localized.
Why they're coming in the first place, right? I mean,
exactly.
For the most part.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little bit different demographic between the two, and so definitely different marketing strategies for both as well.
Fantastic. So how would if they didn't find you through Vrbo, or they didn't find you through Booking, or they didn't find you through Airbnb, is the best way to find you through the Stay CVP?
Yeah, so we do have our own direct website. Each of the B&Bs have their own direct website to book as well. So and they have their own marketing strategy. So B&Bs, you're more likely to plug into like your local visitor bureau or travel bureau, which we do there. And then you have other, SEO, search engine optimization platforms that you wind up using, to be able to rank in some of these. And then of course, the more people that book direct, the more that they're booking or they're rating through things like Google, which then obviously helps your search rating when somebody Googles Charleston bed and breakfast. So little bit different.
Gotcha. So here we are towards the end of the show, Josh, and I always say I'm the DJ and you're the hit record, right? I'm just spinning records here, but take us out. Any thoughts on your mind, heart, soul that you want to share? It could be about the holidays, could be about Charleston, could be about business, anything you like. Could be about your dog. Take us out and tell us what you're thinking right now.
Wow.
I got you.
Yeah, I love that. Man, I'm just really grateful. I usually spend Thanksgiving means something to me, and just in terms of gratitude, and I've rolled that into the end of the year here. I'm 41, like I said, just got married a couple of years ago, so definitely waited a little bit longer than average, probably in the South. But really enjoying my young marriage with my wife and our little house and our little furry family, and we've got a couple of dogs and cats, but. Just really, it's just gratitude, man. I've been in this mastermind that's mostly real estate focused for the last couple of years, and some of the people that I've met, and just elevating that higher level of thinking and the intellect of some of these guys. I just really grateful for the people that I have in my close inner circle. Guy that's like my dad, basically my adopted dad, I met when I was 20, and just super grateful to be around some of these people and finally be in a position I feel like in my life to kind of look around me and really appreciate that too, and take time out of the day to let each of those people know. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm just super excited for what the next couple of years will bring as well.
Oh, that's great, man. I love to hear it. I love to hear the gratitude, and it sounds like you're a pretty humble guy as well. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Josh, thanks for being on the program. Really enjoyed it. I look forward to catching up with you over the next 3, 6, 9 months. Hang with me real tight at the end of the program so I can give you some direction there. Have Absolutely. A great holiday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.